Welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two lovely items you can't imagine. We have Old Thompson, Glenmore's Old Thompson, introduced in 1904, bottled in Kentucky, two different towns in Kentucky, either Owensboro or Bardstown by Glenmore Distilleries, and it's on the bottle neck. We love to hear from our customers, Sazerac.com. Sazerac has owned Glenmore for many years. I think there's just the blended now. I don't think there's a straight bourbon, but then you could be shocked by Sazerac sometimes. Bought this at Total Wine and More in Metairie, Louisiana for $7.99 for a liter. $7.99 for a 1 liter bottle. Premium. Oh yeah. Amazing. No age statement, but it is blended at an 80-20 blend ratio. It says right here. 80% grain neutral spirits, which is unaged corn whiskey, basically moonshine as people call it. And the reason moonshine, I was about to say moonshine. The reason moonshine is unaged is because that's an illegal product traditionally. I know they sell it now. People pay money for it, but and they didn't have time to age it. They just distill it and sell it. So it didn't get the barrel treatment. It was raw. Remember, the Baldwin sisters used to make what they called the recipe, and everybody in town would go get some of the recipe. It was homemade clear corn liquor, apparently. And I don't know if they added rye or wheat to it or malt. I don't know what they added. They just were making the recipe, if you remember. And it was clear. And their father, the judge, used to make it. Their father was a judge, and he would sell it. It was a family thing. Now, the competitor is Clubhouse. This is the brown label, American. We know it's American blended whiskey. It doesn't say Kentucky blended. It says product of USA, which means it could be coming from anywhere in America. It's likely a blend of Kentucky and Indiana whiskeys. A lot of times when you see that, that's a tip-off that it's Indiana because there's a huge distillery there, and they do a lot of contract work. Well, I don't know when Clubhouse was introduced. I never could find an introductory date. Blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. Oh, golly, and oh, boy. I've had the Clubhouse gin, which I saw at Total Wine and More the other day. Hadn't seen the Clubhouse blended whiskey. There's Clubhouse vodka, there's Clubhouse gin, there's Clubhouse brandy, there's Clubhouse, you get the picture. Rum, I have some of the rum, the clear. And that's made in Kentucky. It doesn't say imported from the Caribbean islands. And like I said, apparently Glenmore, I said this in an earlier video, apparently Glenmore is starting to distill their own rum in Owensboro. Don't know which brand. They're probably never going to tell you. Sazerac keeps things quiet. There's, I'm not saying they're a shadowy company or something like that. They just don't tell you a whole lot. John Womack says, cheers to all. Cheers to you all on Thanksgiving Saturday. I guess we call that. Poured too much of the Clubhouse. I wouldn't get too much in a tizzy over natural flavorings because I used to say, it's not true whiskey. It's not pure whiskey. Well, it isn't. It is not pure if it's got flavoring. Okay, yeah, we get that. It's not pure whiskey. But anyway, it's part of the market. Canadian blended whiskey is almost invariably flavored with who knows all kind of stuff. Rum, brandy, even bourbon itself, wine, up to 9.9% of the volume. In America, they only allow up to 2.5%. If you look at the Tax and Trade Bureau website, it really only allows for blending sherry. It says it can contain blending sherry for flavor up to 2.5%. I think it said 2.5%. But I could be misinterpreting the regulations or something. And but whatever, it's natural flavoring. It's flavor from nature. Before people get in too much of an uproar, we were drinking a very expensive imperial stout yesterday, and it's flavored and aged in bourbon barrels. These two whiskeys are aged in bourbon barrels, used. You know, it's used barrels. Oh, and by the way, I've been seeing bourbons lately with natural flavors. And I thought bourbon was not allowed to have flavor added, but there they are on the shelf. I'm reading it. I'm looking at the label. 10 high, bourbon with natural flavor added. I said, huh. And that's probably a situation where it's not allowed unless you put a disclosure. Like, you have to say it has flavor added because of being bourbon. Whereas natural, whereas with blended whiskey, you don't have to say it. And they used to say 10 high blended bourbon. Now it just said bourbon. So I don't know the story beyond that. Behind that, in front of that, on the side of that. And furthermore, I don't even care because you know what? I'm never going to buy it. Again, I've had the 10 high. It was, hair is kind of messed. It was kind of okay, but I mean, it was good actually, but I'm not buying it again. Now, so we're drinking this expensive stout, Mackinac Fudge Stout. Okay, so it's the great, or whatever, Cosmickies. I can't remember the whole name. Mackinac Maple, I can't even say it. Maple Mackinac Fudge Stout. So it's a stout with Mackinac, fudge, coffee, chocolate, aged in bourbon barrels. So we're tasting it and everything and raving about how good it is. And then my friend David says, well, you know, those are natural flavors, right? I mean, these are natural flavors. And I said, yeah, you know, maple syrup. He said, because I love maple syrup. Maple syrup, chocolate, coffee. You know, and then for whatever reason, I guess because he asked, I looked at the side of the label in very low profile, light purple on purple, like mauve on purple. And I mean, so light and tiny that you almost never notice it. If you watch the video, when I posted, my eyes get big, you know, like, and my jaw dropped. I'm like, I gasped. I said, what? It says malt beverage with malt beverage artificially flavored with whatever they say. I said, malt beverage with artificial flavoring. I said, wow, I bought Mackinac Stout for $23.03 after tax for a 4-pack. And I'm over here getting Four Loko, you know, because we always rip on Four Loko because it's artificially flavored. And those Lime-A-Ritas kind of things from Anheuser-Busch. But now I'm thinking to myself, why should I pick on them? Because everybody's running fast as they can to the store to get their Mackinac from KBS. Oh, let me run to the store and get mine. And then it's artificially flavored. Now, did it still taste awesome? Yeah. Can artificial flavors be good? Obviously, we were giving it. And then my friend David was like, I'm going to give it a lower grade because of that. I said, no. I said, you were going to give it an A+ until you found that out. And I was shocked too. I said, we got to give it the score based on taste, not reading the label. He agreed. So now here, I think I'll be able to tell these apart. Last night, and that video went too long, and I was so thirsty I could barely speak. At the end, I'm like, you watch, I'm having trouble speaking. You say, because you drank all that whiskey. Well, that was part of it, of course, but I just was thirsty. And when I get really thirsty, I can't talk, you know. It's like, and I wanted to get up and get some water. And then I was like, nah, I just want to finish the video. So I went on for like 15 minutes with this halting speech. It was comical. But the thing about that video, the charcoal perfected, it was JW Dance Charcoal Perfected. It has an odd flavor. It's unique and it's strange, but it's a good type of strange. You know what I'm saying? Like the flavor is strange and odd, but it's good. Whereas the Clubhouse, the flavor is strange and odd. And I think for the negative, like it's not that good. And my friend David was loving it at first. And we can get it for $5.99. Look at that, $5.99 a liter. And I paid $7.99 a liter for the Old Thompson. So can you find any cheaper liquor in America? Well, hardly. But you can, because you can go to Walmart and get the huge handle bottle of blended Canadian whiskey for $9.96. The tag says $10.96, but I think it rings up to $9.96. But still at $10.96, who could beat that? So, but I think this is but he got sick of drinking it. He kept buying it, and then he was like, I was like, what happened? You're not finishing your Clubhouse. He's like, oh, the taste got to me all of a sudden. I said, I knew it. I knew that strangeness would catch up with you. All right, here we go. They're both amber, so. Same appearance, doesn't matter. They look okay. You look like somebody added caramel color into them, which they did. And most Scotch is that way. Most Scotch. Blended, single malt, doesn't matter. Okay. Took a little too big of a sip, but it tastes like a whole lot of corn going on. It just literally tastes like a lot of corn grits that are processed according to bourbon guidelines and then mixed with, blended with unaged corn liquor. So it's very corn oriented. So if you don't like corn, you know, you're going to hate it. But then who in the world's drinking bourbon if they don't like corn? I don't understand it, because to me, bourbon tastes just like corn, you know, and charred oak, which may or may not appeal to you. It kind of appeals to me. I don't adore it, honestly. You say, boy, you really know how to sabotage your channel. You do bourbon videos all the time, and then you're going to tell people you don't really like bourbon. Well, I'd rather be honest on this channel instead of trying to posture a certain way just to pull in views. I'm not going to do it. I do many bourbon videos, but I don't really, I don't adore it like other people do. That's what I'm saying. A lot of corn here too. But I have to say, this one seems a lot more bitey. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got a little bit of a cutty edge to it. You say, you mean a cutty sark? No, a cutty edge. Spare us the cutter. I should go listen to. All right. Anyway, but inevitably, the exploding plastic inevitable tells us one thing, that this has got to be the Clubhouse. And why do I say that? Why do you say that, Mr. Powers? Well, I'm going to tell you why I say that. I think it's the Clubhouse because it has that unusual undertaste of flavoring. And I don't know what that flavoring is. Is it some kind of nutty pecan? Or now, remember, I said the Glenmore had that, the Old Thompson Glenmore had that pecan oil taste. It's true. It does. But it tastes like it's coming from the corn distillate and the corn, you know, the bourbon itself. But whereas this one, it tastes like it's been spiked with like a pecan flavor. If that makes sense. Jeff G says, 2 shots of whiskey to start the morning. How does that work? It works like this. Like this. It works like this. And all of that. The best part of waking up is I drank 3 cups of coffee earlier. I did take some vitamin C. I did eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with crunchy peanut butter, mind you. And I toasted the bread. One thing I will say about these two. Well, another thing I'll say, I said more than one thing already, haven't I? Another thing I'll say about these two is I don't find the flavoring difference to be too profound. Now, I thought before I poured these, I thought, oh, yeah, it's just going to be so glaring and the flavoring added that it'd just be like that. I mean, it is sort of like that, but it's not as glaring. It's a little more demure than I had anticipated. Oh, I wouldn't recommend go getting this stuff. I mean, how do you recommend something like this? But it is $5.99 a liter. And you might be thinking probably correctly, I don't need that in my life. I don't want this. You know, I knew what Nikki wanted and I didn't want any part of it. It's sort of like that. So, as you've noticed over the few months or a year, I have mixed feelings about Clubhouse blended whiskey product of USA. I think the Rolling Stones would have mixed emotions about it. But I'm here. I'm your knight in shining armor. I'm here for your emotional rescue, I guess you'd say. Yeah, I'm starting to pick up that sourdough bagel taste in the Glenmore Old Thompson. Sourdough, which is making me think that they're using sour mash, straight bourbon whiskey, which is making me think it's almost certainly very old Barton. Might be ancient age, but it's no age statement, which means that the straight bourbon would have to be at least 4 years. You say, well, maybe they just had ancient age and they let it set for 4 years. Who knows? Maybe it's old charter. Yeah, could be that. But is old charter sour mash? The question. I know ancient age is sour mash bourbon. See what I'm saying? And that imparts that sort of telltale heart. Like you can hear it beating through the wall. And so that's why I think it's that. Now let's go back to this. I'm going to say it's the Clubhouse, but if it says OT, I'm going to feel shamed on the internet, live and in person. Here we go. Ha ha ha. Never question my authority. Unless I'm wrong, then you can ridicule me to the hilt. I was wrong the other day. I'm always right, even when I'm wrong. Because you don't have the guts to do what you want to do, to be what you want to be. It's just a noticeable little thing. Or old hag, yeah, old hag. Oh, well, let's not disparage the products live on the internet. The sea hag and the Jeep. That was thoroughly not fascinating. But it was thoroughly tolerable. Now let's finish off with the Old Thompson, named after two brothers. Actually, I don't know if they were twins, but two brothers, Thompson brothers, who started the company. Well, they bought the company from somebody else, but you understand. I stand under. So to the battle joined. We bring in the Old Thompson. We're finishing out with Old Thompson. It is pleasant. It is kind of okay. Actually, you think it's a horror show. You would think it's just a you'd say $7.99 a liter. I can't do it. I'd never do it. But honestly, I got to give Old Thompson a lot of credit because it comes across ultimately like a regular old bourbon whiskey. So if you gave it to a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend, and you said, try this, they might just think it's bourbon. I think they might just think it's bourbon if they didn't think about it too much. Warm my heart. All right, now I have to go. The news is coming on. We'll see what new fear mongering they're trying to perpetuate on America today. So let's go see what fear mongering they're promoting this morning. Thanks for watching the video production.